and you share with your friends and people who are interested in the subject matter. We always bring in different issues, webinars, courses, and events related to sustainability in Brazil and abroad. Today, we have a webinar on social circular economy, rethinking re-waste using design. So this is a webinar organized by the Embassy of Sweden together with IABS, the Brazilian Institute for Development and Sustainability, and the Swedish Institute and Rewaste. Today, this morning, we're all here to discuss and have this roundtable with very interesting people who play a key role in the discussion of circular socioeconomy. So my name is Lucas Borelli. I'm the mediator of our webinar today. It's a huge pleasure to be here as a mediator. I'm very happy to be here with you, and especially as it's so key and so important for current days, right? And to begin, we're going to have an institutional opening roundtable in which we will have Eric Sawyer. He's the head of the Center for Productive Inclusion and Circular Economy of IABS, and also the chairperson of the Decision-Making Council of IABS. We also have Lisa Cavotford, and she please correct my mispronouncements. She's going to, if I made any mistakes, I'm sorry, Lisa, if I made any mistakes. My Swedish is not as good as I would like it to be, as the Secretary for Environmental Matters and Policies of the Embassy of Sweden. And we will also welcome the Vice Mayor, Isabela de Rodão, representing the city government of Recife. I'm going to bring each one of them in this order for them to make their opening remarks. And they will each have 5 minutes to speak, but please feel free, Eric, Elisa, and Isabella. Should you need more time, don't worry about it. What matters really is for you to bring in whatever is essential that you want to speak. So I'm going to first now bring Eric Sawyer, head of the Center for Productive Inclusion and Circular Economy of IABS, to take the floor, and also the chairperson of the Decision-Making Committee of IABS. Good morning, Eric. Please take the floor. Welcome to our webinar on circular social economy.
Obrigado, Lucas.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Lucas. Before anything else, I would like to say hello to everyone, especially the Vice Mayor of Recife, Isabela de Rodão, and the Secretary for Environmental and Policy Matters of Sweden, Lisa Cavotford, on behalf of whom I also would like to greet everyone else who has joined us today. And I also would like to say that, and I would personally greet Aleardo, who has been a driving force of the short-term partnerships and such amazing results already that we have seen, right, Leandro? And so I would just like once again to reinforce our special recognition for everything that you've done for us thus far. Roberto Rochelini as well, who's our head of IABS. She's the regional officer of IABS in the Northeast, and she's going to be speaking about our ecosystem here in the Northeast in terms of social innovation. As a matter of fact, now we're celebrating because last night we welcomed the great news. We had the great news that we ranked first in the Social Technology Awards of the Ford Foundation of Brazil. So one more reason to celebrate today. And Frida, and I'm actually going to switch the audio channels here. I'm going to speak in English to make it easier for Frida to understand.
Lisa, I'm so eager to hear about all your experience so far here in Brazil. I am deeply sorry that I couldn't make it to be there with you. And I hope, just as you have been an inspiration to us with the designs that you have showed, that our work here has also managed to be a part of your inspiration for your future work as well. And now switching back to Portuguese.
And finally, to the Honorary Consul of Recife, Eric Siao, I would like to thank you and a huge thanks for the welcome and everything you've done, especially it has made a huge difference in the work that we've been doing. And so thank you so much for offering the room for us. I unfortunately I cannot be there in person, but and also of course enjoy the welcoming environment that I've seen thus far, right? So I'm wasting a considerable time of my 5 minutes in these greetings, so I might as well address the issues, right? So, as an IABS, aside from a very institutional role in the decision-making committee, I basically am the head of productive inclusion and circular economy. And what do we understand by that, right? When it comes to productive inclusion, we want to find main means for community-based production to be included in value chains and even to structure new value chains to make sure that we have a more equitable distribution of income and work. And so this is what we've been doing, right, with so many different communities throughout our entire nation. And when it comes to circular economy, far more than reinserting waste in new value chains, our idea is to do what we saw would do of social circular economy. So aside from re-including the waste, which brings so much environmental benefits, we also want to bring in the communities that are producing these products at the center of these activities. They play key roles and they are central to all of the objectives in what we do. So I believe it is easier to now understand with Roberta's words in relation to our innovation system, ecosystem, which reuses the Sururu flask here. We will also want to do that in the future in Recife, if everything goes well. We have also other projects, such as, for instance, the one with the Environment Ministry of Brazil and the German cooperation in the seaside in the south of Pernambuco and north of Alagoas. And we want to do new products coming from plastic. And we're also working with the waste pickers to allow to prevent the plastic waste coming from tourism to reaching the sea. And this is quite interesting because we know a few of the initiatives in Recife, Vice Mayor, and they are quite interesting. A lot of which comes from his Ciclamais project. So, and there are a lot to be done that are quite interesting, and a lot of things happening that are quite interesting, and always with this assumption that we are going to put the beneficiaries in the first place, right? They're going to be central to all this. So without further ado, I would like to thank everyone for being here today, live with us, everyone who have not been able to join us now, but will rather watch the webinar later. And I hope that we can all bring in useful information for all of you in the future. And now I would like to offer the floor back to you, Lucas, so that we can move forward with today's speakers. Thank you so much, Eric. I would like now to bring in Lisa, directly from the Embassy of Sweden. She's the Secretary for Environment and Politics Matters. Welcome, Lisa, to our roundtable, to our institutional roundtable for our webinar on social circular economy. Thank you so much, Lucas, and thank you so much, Eric, and good morning to everyone who has partners with us here in this webinar. It's an honor to be here together with our friends of IABS, Roberto Salinas, Eric Sawyer, and everyone else, and also to have the considerable support of the Consulate of Sweden in Recife and our consul there as well, and for the presence of Vice Mayor Isabela de Roldão and the city government of Recife. And today we're going to talk about how can we rethink the issue of waste in this webinar, but thanks to circular economy, innovation, and sustainability. It is estimated that 2 billion tons of waste is generated at a global level every year. And the worst of it all is that this is likely to increase by 70% as of 2050. So there's a lot of waste. And though people who live in developed countries use more waste or generate more waste when compared to less wealthy countries, the need to reduce waste is a global crisis and we need all to do our part. In Sweden, our target is to have a 100% circular economy and also of being a zero carbon country by 2045. Likewise, much like as Sweden is rethinking waste, we have also found a project in the community in the city of Maceió, Alagoas, which has the support of IABS. And in relation to the sururu, this is all being reconsidered in a sustainable and bringing back riches to the community. It is a practical project based on social economy and applied on a creative fashion and quite innovative fashion as well. The result of the project is seen in several areas, and sustainable development for the sururu project, the creation of products based on sururu with great added value, and to offer more income to the families involved in the extraction of the sururu husks in the community. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to visit the community of Ilha de Deus here in Recife. And I see that there too are great possibilities to work on different projects with this community in particular. So I believe that our friends of IABS will speak more about these projects later today. And today, this webinar, we will also discuss the issues caused by solid waste in the urban environment and the phases we all have to follow in relation to this situation and the smart innovations for recycling that are available to this end. Because rethinking waste implies transforming the everyday life of each and every one of us, because waste does not have to be something that is rejected, but it doesn't have to be trash. It can be valuable and transformed and changed into something new, creative, and sustainable. The pathway to arrive at a 100% circular economy is quite long, but we do have to take the first steps. And I hope this webinar will help you in this regard. And that said, I would like to thank you all for the organization of this webinar, and I wish you all an interesting webinar for today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lisa, for your kind words. So to close the opening part of the institutional roundtable, I would like to bring in the Vice Mayor of Recife, Isabela de Roldão. Welcome, Isabela. Thank you, Lucas. Good morning, everyone. It's a great happiness to be able to be here and join you, Eric and Lisa, in this roundtable. Erika Xiao, my dear, my much gratitude to our colleagues in our profession, but I would like to say how happy we are, Frida, as a matter of fact, of being here as a public administrators of such an important moment of discussion in which sustainability has long gone from a level of discourse only or of politically correct or politically friendly. Somebody's microphone is on. Yes. Okay. So it's no longer a politically correct discourse, but rather has changed to extremely necessary and urgent practices. And we here in Recife, after the reports disclosed here, Recife is the most vulnerable capital in Brazil to climate change. So we have to take on this agenda with great responsibility and great boldness as well, understanding that the agenda of waste especially has a huge role in every person's routine. So as Lisa has duly brought, it's not about trash or rejects, but rather waste that can in fact generate a lot of benefits for people who actually work or start working with this waste, correct? So I would actually like to share with you, and IABS, please feel free to participate of this discussion process. We have, in the past months, we have based at our office here we have organized a huge task force, including in this task force the participation of the waste pickers who work here in the city of Recife and the waste collectors, because we understand that these people, unlike what people generally perceive, that are people who cause traffic and cause a lot of pollution. It's actually quite the contrary. They're very essential for the waste to leave wherever it is in the environment and actually arrive at their final destination, and allowing to cause a very sustainable way of living for people and who are able to re-signify whatever is thrown away, but a lot of people, right? Because there is no way that you're going to consume any products, or for example, soap, if not coming within a packaging or in some form of plastic packaging or paper packaging. So we have to re-educate ourselves, or even educate ourselves, understanding that waste must be duly separated. Recyclable waste has to be duly designated to the right place for us to be able to increase and effectively cause the economy to circulate in order to sustain and support, because sustainability comes from sustaining, right? So in order for it to allow for to be sustained across all spheres for the people of our cities and consequently of the world, because the impact that one person has reflects on everyone else. So it is a great happiness for us to be here with you this morning. Isabella, I think we might have a technical glitch. I think your image is frozen, but if I'm not mistaken, you just mentioned it was great happiness to be here with all of us today. And when you come back, we'll definitely want to hear you again, but it's great for all of us to be able to have this round table with IABS, with the embassy, and with the city government of Recife, and officially kicking off our webinar on social circular economy, rethinking waste through design. So, Isabella, thank you so much for your words. Lisa, thank you so much as well, and Eric too. Please stay here with us because we will now have a more presentation-oriented part of our webinar, and then we'll call you all back in so that we can have a conversation, this discussion, and based on our next speakers and what they have to bring to the floor. So moving forward with our schedule, now we have the first content this morning. I would like to call in Mr. Leandro Rocha, who's the head of business development of the Embassy of Sweden in Brasilia. So he's going to talk a little bit about circular economy and definitely other applicable and relevant matters. So Leandro, please, Mr. Leandro Rocha, welcome. It's a great pleasure to have you with us today. Sorry.
Consegue me ouvir?
Can you hear me?
Isabella.
Yes, we can, Isabella. Great. So just to close my closing remarks, I'm so happy really to welcome you all. And we will actually meet in person later, right, Frida? So please, you're all very, very welcome to Recife. And the issue of sustainability is high up in our agenda, and our administration really is taking on this and tackling this with so much commitment and boldness for us to be able to effectively develop effectively sustainable projects for everyone. So this agenda is about sustaining and being sustaining, right, and supportive, right? And this stems to several different areas so that we can support the population and the city that we want to improve and build. And so please count on us as a public administration. The city government of Recife is here to help. Eric Xiao is aware, and he knows our contact information, and he knows that it's just all it takes is a knock on our door, and doors are always open for him and for every one of you. So thank you so much. We will all see each other later. Thank you.
Isabella. Leandro.
Wonderful, Isabella. So, all right, Leandro, the floor is yours. Go ahead. Thank you so much, Lucas. Thank you for your kind welcoming words. And also thank you, Vice Mayor Isabella de Roldão. Well, everyone, I'm here today with IABS representing the Embassy of Sweden, together with Secretary Lisa and designer Frida Anderson. And I would like to talk a little bit about re-waste. And re-waste stands for it's a tool that Sweden has, right? It's a toolkit that shows how Sweden has been rethinking design and waste. So because Sweden is a highly efficient country when it comes to recycling and sustainability, Sweden likes to share the good experiences it has had in this regard back home, right, with everyone. So this is the role of our toolkit, right? The Rewaste toolkit, and I would like to share my screen with you today. So just bear with me for 1 second. Let me share my screen, 1 second. I believe you can see my screen, right? Yes, great. So thank you so much, Lucas. All right, so this is the title of my presentation today, is Rewaste, How is Sweden Rethinking the Issue of Waste? And this toolkit is offered by the Swedish Institute, which is a federal government agency for cultural affairs and to promote Swedish policies to the world, together with the Embassy of Sweden in Brasilia, and also with the support of the Consulate of Sweden in Recife. And so we're now going to talk about trash, or what is trash? Is it really trash? Or is it waste? Or is it actually a resource that has been wasted, right? So we have a lot of names for waste, right? Trash, residues, waste, rejects, and they are all words that we generally associate to problems, correct? I mean, there's a lot of an idea of a problem, but unfortunately, when improperly treated, waste contaminates the ocean, our planet, and increases the toxicity of the environment, and it doesn't allow for outsourcing to go, and it really brings problem to our urban life, and it renders our urban life quite unsustainable. And our role is to arrive at a sustainable solution for waste, and in order to do so, we need a joint efforts as in terms of policies and research and innovation, and we need the citizens to jump in on this too. So companies have to really take on the responsibility for their production processes, and especially product design and choice of material. The governments have to ensure the implementation of appropriate waste management systems, and each one individually, as citizens, have to undertake their own responsibilities in terms of reducing, reusing, and recycling waste. So if we look here at this image here on my screen right now, when we have from best to worst in terms of consumption, the first thing we have here is prevention, right? Prevention, so not generating any waste. And even if through this prevention you do generate waste, we have to rethink this waste and reuse it, right? If maybe it doesn't serve a particular for like a given object, maybe it's broken, it might be reused for other purposes. If we're not able to reuse it, then we can recycle that product. If we're not using that, which I do not do anymore, and we're turning into a new product with that material that was recycled, right? So what I can extract energy from that waste, right? Because the waste contains a energy potential as well, because it can be incinerated, it can be transformed into heat, into electricity, and ultimately, or the last option is, which is what we really want to avoid, is finally disposing of the waste. So when we come to Sweden, nowadays 97% of the waste generated in Sweden, 97% of the waste is recycled. And if that were not enough, Sweden actually imports waste from neighboring countries to test recycling services. And after all that, after only 3% of waste actually goes to a landfill, and from the landfills, we are still using biogas coming from the landfills, right, and biomethane, and then maybe if that waste I mean, we really, really, really can't extract something from it, then it does become rejects or waste that are ultimately sent to the landfills and stays there, right? So when we look at this image here, there's a family at the center, right, with average consumption in the world. This is Mr. Anderson's family. And just for you to have an idea of the universe of products consumed per year. I mean, imagine per year, a family of 3 people, a father, a mother, and a kid, for example, generates about half a ton of waste per year. I mean, there's so much, right? That's too much. And imagine half a ton of waste if you just leave it on your doorsteps, for example, and leave it there. This is not going to disappear if you put half a ton of waste outside your door. You have to treat this waste. And as we mentioned, there are all the different phases, and we have to extract as much as we can from this waste, either through recycling, energy extraction, etc., to avoid generating even more waste and even more trash, right? So for us to have here as reference, modern life results in consumption, often which is unnecessary, which translates into a lot of residues and waste. So the first thing we have to do when we talk about great decisions in relation to product table, and what do I mean by that? The life cycles of the products begin far before the industrial line, right? It starts at the concept of the product, at the design of the product. When we design or think of a product, then this is exactly where the designer jumps in, right? Because designers don't think just the functionality or the beauty or how practical a given product is, but also it is the role of the designer to choose the resources that we're going to use. What are the hazardous components that are left behind? What can we use in terms of sustainable material to create or design a given product? And we have to move away from this mindset of linear consumption in which we purchase, use something until the end and then throw it out or throw it away. So we clearly have a linear life cycle and move on to a circular attitude. So the circularity is key for us to reuse everything that has been created and designed. And the result of that is to rethink waste and consequently have less waste being produced at different cities. And this picture here is the central bus station and bus and train station in Stockholm. And if you see the seats here, they are made of wood, right? But it comes from certified wood. And the company that builds this furniture, that makes this furniture, is a Swedish company called Green Furniture Concept. And they designed these benches in such a way that if they break down or if any maintenance is required, this furniture is not disposed of entirely. Only parts of these benches can be replaced with sustainable material. And what's the most interesting of this is that every product this company sells, every product that Green Furniture Concept sells, its policy is to plant 1 tree in Sweden per product sold, right? So imagine, again, this is an idea of the concept of sustainability implied in the purchase and the maintenance of the products used by society in general, right? So decisions come way before the product is sold, right? Far before it reaches the market. The decisions are made in the conception and design of the product. So how do we render products more sustainable? Moving on, and when it comes to the production of waste, right? In a way, everything that we produce, anything that we create in the industry, in one way or another, when it's no longer useful, it will become waste. So we need, of course, to make new choices when it comes to our products. And what do I mean by that? The resources that are necessary during the design and conception of a given product, we have to make sure that the product will not pollute, right? For instance, so here on this image, there's a person eating. In general, the packages or the serving material here is made of plastic, which comes from gas, right? From oil, sorry. So Rotaneiros, this company makes food packagings, and it seems a simple one, right? But actually, it's paper based. It's biodegradable paper that replaces the use of plastic. And then this paper can be recycled and transformed into new products. So in other words, there's clear conception of circularity here applied to industrial products. Another example that I can mention of Swedish companies that are working with circularity, for instance, is Ikea, right? Ikea sells furniture, and the furniture, when they're packed, they used to use styrofoam, right? And we all know that styrofoam comes also from oil. It's highly polluting. So, and now IKEA has replaced styrofoam for cardboard, right? Cardboard coming from recycled paper. So when you replace styrofoam by cardboard, it's definitely a sustainable measure that IKEA has implemented. For instance, Tetra Pak, right? You know, like the milks and juices all sold on Tetra Pak packs, right? Packages. And the bottles, for example, Tetra Pak makes these bottles. They used to use plastic and aluminum, which both are very polluting and are very toxic for the environment. And now when they rethought this process, the Tetra Pak now uses bioplastic in lieu of regular plastic. So they're using cellulose-based plastic or paper-based plastic, right? And they're also using cardboard combined with bioplastic to make the Tetra Paks in which these products are sold. So the Tetra Pak packages now definitely have sustainability and circularity inherent to them. So they're rethinking products in order to avoid the production of ever the more waste. And another issue that we have to consider is that we consume a lot, but we forget to share what we have, right? So how many times do we buy things and we use them for a certain time and then we leave it aside and we put it in some closet somewhere, right? We have to have a more advanced approach when it comes to waste management as well, and not to generate any waste at all. So for example, a trend not to generate waste is to make sure we have collaborative or sharing economy, right? An example thereof we can see in this picture is in the city of Gothenburg. There is a toy library. Look how cool this is. So children in general, for example, you have a toy, the kids have a toy and they play with that toy for a given time and then they just throw it out, right? So why not have a toy library in which you pay a small fee, a very small fee, and then parents can go to this toy library, rent a toy, play with it for a while, and then they return the toy to the toy library for other kids to play with that toy as well. So that's definitely something, again, another example of collaborative or sharing economy, of circularity. All right, fine, so I'm not going to use this product, I'm going to give it back so someone else can use it, which results in less consumption and then ultimately in less residues and waste. So again, aware and conscious consuming, right? We do have to buy products. I mean, do we really need this? What purpose is this for? And when we're consuming our products, how long will I keep this product? You know, we have to bear that in mind, right, when we're buying something. And when we think about the duration of a product or the extension of the product's life cycle, we have to consider this culture of reusing things, which is, and when it comes to a similarity between Sweden and Brazil, is the repair of electronic devices, for example, or kitchen utensils, right? In other countries, everything that gets broken simply goes to waste, and that's definitely not ideal or sustainable in any way, right? So once again, going back to the role of the designer of making a product, for example, if I'm making a product and it's going to be useful to somebody, then this has to be durable as well, right? To make sure that its life cycle is longer, that can be used for more purposes, and that people can give a greater or bigger useful life for that product. So definitely repair and maintenance for the products has to be taken into account. And another example coming from Sweden is Retuna in the city of Skilstuna, which is the first shopping mall in the world that sells secondhand products, right? It's a shopping mall. I mean, we're used to go shopping malls in Brazil and just buy new stuff, right? This is actually a quite different shopping mall because everything sold there, it's secondhand use, right? They don't sell anything that's broken or anything of the like, but it's just used products. Maybe someone who, it's kind of like a thrift shop, right? Maybe you have like a cake batter and you're no longer using that to make cakes. You could just take it there, and somebody who's looking for a mixer or blender, he can just go there and buy the product, right? Ultimately, it doesn't matter if it's secondhand use or not. They just want to make their cake, so it's fine, right? So we're definitely reusing things. And Sweden and Brazil do have the similarity. We do practice secondhand use a lot, right? Another detail, when it comes back to the basic materials used, we have to recycle and compost our organic material, right? So it's important for our product that it's going to get teared and wasted, and it might become trash. Maybe it was used and reused several times. It can nonetheless be recycled, right? It may be converted into material to be used, which may be used to produce another product. So for example, we have this model here in this picture. She's wearing this dress. It's a common fabric, but it actually comes from waste, believe it or not. There's a Swedish company, fashion designer H&M. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of H&M before, but nowadays H&M works with fabric made from recycled material. And it uses technologies in which 50% of the fabric comes from circulose, which is wood, and the other 50% comes from certified wood. So this fabric is developed and made from recycled wood of whatever was left from the timber industry, right? Maybe from the furniture industry and other products and so on. So whatever's left, H&M goes, treats this wood and uses it and mixes in and blends it with cotton to create smart and sustainable fabric. So what's again, recycling and circularity to make sure that recycling can allow for the circularity of products. Another detail that I would like to mention is recovery, right? The filtering phase of waste management. And because what I mentioned earlier, right, that we have to avoid generating residues or waste, or what we try to avoid, and we've removed waste, and then we can go to recycle. If you don't recycle, we can extract energy, and then ultimately then, and only then, will that particular product be destined to a landfill, right? So when it comes to food, for example, food is not necessarily trash or waste to be disposed of, right? They can turn into biofertilizer for your own gardens. You can compost this organic material at home and transform this food into fertilizers. And when we think of landfills, the trash that is generated at home can also generate biomethane. So not only we're extracting biofertilizers, but also biogas, and which can be used as material for incineration for the purposes of energy generation, right? So there's circularity and absolutely everything, and we have to find better destinations for this waste. And a last alternative to all of this that I've mentioned, to all of this process, of preventing waste and then reusing material, recycling material, recovering it, then finally disposing of it. So disposing of a product is when we can't do anything anymore with that. And people who are environmentally conscious and aware, we can see that the disposal of waste in the cities and streets, well, the Swedish Institute organized an activity called plogging, which is a combination of two words in English, which is pick and jogging. So to run and collect, right? So you collect whilst jogging. It's an exercise, a physical activity in which we organize events when people hit the streets running, literally, or jogging, right? And as they're jogging, they collect and pick solid waste from public areas such as squares, parks and beaches. For example, in Recife, there's a lot of beaches in Recife, right? So we definitely could count on the support of our city government and the consulate here in Recife for us to have initiatives in which we organize a plogging group, to have a big group of people trying to collect this waste. This is definitely a great alternative, for instance, right? So when we come to waste, just for the sake of examples, we have here a few products. And as I mentioned, the waste that we generate at home, we can't just put it outside on our doorsteps because it doesn't disappear, right? So for example, an apple that you throw away, the rest of your apple that you're throwing away, it takes 1 month to decompose. So, and then a piece of like newspaper in turn takes 6 weeks to decompose and then return to the environment. And when we talk about other products of greater durability, for example, cigarette butts, it takes almost 5 years to decompose. Imagine thousands and thousands of cigarette butts, right? There's a huge increase of waste. Plastic bags, 20 years to decompose. Chewing gum, the chewing gum that we all chew and just throw it out in the street, 20 years to dissolve that chewing gum. Imagine how much residue this generates, you know? Diapers, for example, one diaper of one child takes 450 years to return to the environment. So how many diapers does a baby use in their first year of life, right? So we really do, for example, myself at home, my mom used to use cloth diapers. So if it's dirty, you wash it again, right? Nowadays, you know, when you think, I mean, consumption has increased a lot nowadays, and you have disposable diapers, obviously, but could we use less disposable diapers and go back to reusable diapers, right? I mean, it's definitely something we have to reconsider. And when it comes to glass, right? A glass bottle, for example, it takes 1 million years to decompose for it to be returned, for this material to be returned to the environment, right? So imagine how many lives you would have to live for you to see it, and you would see this bottle time and time again. So definitely we have to start considering the issue of recycling and circularity and of everything, right? And this is exactly when it comes to the toolkits that Sweden offers, right? We have a lot of knowledge. And in terms of how Sweden is rethinking its waste, we became aware of we came across of Mais Inclusiva project in Maceió, but here at Sweden, we refer to it as the Sururu project, which is this product organized by IABS, the Brazilian Institute for Development and Sustainability. And we thought this was an amazing idea and how circular this rethinking process for this waste is, which is the sururu husks, right? That we know so well here in the city of Recife and in other cities of northeastern Brazil, and the families that work with the extraction of sururu husks. And this husk here of the sururu is waste, right? That is just left there on the streets, you know, and it piles up, as you can see in this picture, which results in the presence of predators, of disease, smells. And what did IABS do, right? How could we reuse the sururu husks and transform it into added value products? So this added value product, the first idea that IABS had, together with a local community of Virgão in close to Maceió, was to design this brick. So it's a sururu-based brick, as you can see here. This is a cobogó. It's a brick made of cement and sururu, and these markings that you can see here is actually the sururu husks incorporated and embedded in this brick, right? And again, a circular product. You can see the sururu husk that used to be waste that would be piling up at these different communities. We're rethinking and redesigning this waste and making a product with a lot of added value, and which also translates into income for the low-income families, right, who are working with the sururu extraction. So in this image here is a kit that I put together. This kit, we sent it to Sweden with the different crushing and granulations that we have here for sururu. And the embassy enjoyed it and liked it so much that we thought, you know what? we could bring this toolkit that we developed, so the Rewaste toolkit, how is Sweden rethinking its waste, and bring in how is Brazil rethinking its waste, right? In Brazil, we came across IABS, and I thought, you know what? IABS already had this amazing and genius idea of producing these bricks. Why not bring in a Swedish designer for her to also, thanks to her innovative and sustainable mindset, to create increasing varieties coming from this Cobogó, right? Coming from sururu. So for her to create more products using the sururu husks for these families to have a greater variety of products, a greater range of products with a lot of added value that can translate in ever the more income for these families, right? So the embassy started looking for designers, and we looked into universities and reached out to other contacts that we had, other designers in Sweden as well. And after sort of filtering in all of these great names that we had on the table, we arrived to Frida Andersson, who's a designer. She works with sustainable products. And we believe that it was a perfect marriage, right? It's a perfect match because we found Frida, and she's working with sustainable products, and we brought her into Brazil for her to better understand how the extraction process of sururu works. We sent her sururu husks as well for her to be inspired and to create new products, and this is exactly what she did. So she designed new products aside from this Cobogó brick here. She's going to show the other products today. Here, she's going to share it with us. And so that's definitely is the Swedish contribution at the design side, at the creating new products, to bring back to IABS so that IABS can share this idea of social circular economy with other communities as well. So we brought Frida to Brazil. She's here with us today. She's going to share, she's going to present and speak later today. So these are my words for today. We have to rethink waste. It is super important. It's an issue of sustainability. And it also involves not only individuals and citizens, but cities, states, governments, and industries as well. And us here on the Swedish end, as the embassy, we have to share our good practices and show the world that this waste, these rejects, actually, there's a lot of wealth in waste, right? There's a lot of value in waste. It's a matter of concepts, culture, and mindset, and rethinking waste so that it can be ever the more circular and have greater value for us. So this is what I had to say, and I would like to thank you all for the opportunity. And I would now like to offer the floor back to you, Lucas. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. Leandro Rocha. He's the head of business development of the Embassy of Sweden in Brasilia. Leandro, this was a great lecture for all of us, and definitely to see your motivation and how engaged you are in this issue. I'm sure that everyone in our audience here on YouTube is quite excited to see that, and this is also true for the webinar. As far as I'm concerned, I could give you another 15 or 20 minutes, for you to continue speaking. So thank you so much, Leandro Rocha.
O Leandro já deu uma deixa, ele já levantou.
So Leandro has already offered a preview of what IABS is going to bring on the Brazil side of this initiative. So moving forward with our webinar, I would like to bring in our regional director of the Northeast of IABS, Ms. Roberta Rochilene, to speak about the sururu ecosystem and Mundaú, right? The community of Mundaú. And I'm sure that she's going to bring a lot of new things to share with us today in her presentation and her great energy and drive. So please, Roberta, welcome, and welcome to our roundtable, to our webinar on social circular economy, rethinking waste through design. The floor is yours. Wonderful, Lucas. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure to be with all of you today First of all, I would like to thank our partnership with the Embassy of Sweden, which contributes to make this webinar true, right, for it to happen. And of course, this matter is so important. We have to talk about waste and rethinking waste. I would like to also thank everyone who's watching us today, because they know and they are well aware of how important these matters are. My name is Roberta. As Lucas has already introduced me, I am the regional head of IABS here in Brazil's Northeast. I live in Maceió, but I also work in the state of Pernambuco. And today I'm going to speak a little about the Mandaú Maceió innovations ecosystem. But before I talk about the ecosystem in itself, I could not do so before saying that we are really happy with the awards that we have just received, right? Last night, actually. So it's from the Banco Brasil Foundation, and the ecosystem received the Environment and Income Award in that category. And though we have a lot of reasons to celebrate, but especially with the fishers of the Mandaú Lagoon and the clam pickers, right? And the shellfish pickers. So this is all very important for us. And I have a presentation that I would like to share with you. You probably can already see my screen, right? So we are the Brazilian Institute for Development Sustainability. I'm going to speak a little about today of the history of the social innovation ecosystem of Lagoa Mandaú, Veja do Lago, in Maceió, Alagoas. I mentioned the award because the award is a huge milestone for us. It's a recognition that our initiative, in fact, is innovative and it's highly scalable, right, and replicable, because this is a proof that we're on the right track. So this story started long ago, actually, right? So it started in about 2012, when, with the support of the Spanish Cooperation Agency, we ran an assessment on the productive chain of sururu and the Mundaú Lagoon. And actually, this activity of the extraction of sururu is a quite traditional in the region. And when we started looking into this production chain, we identified several gaps to be filled in very challenging situations, because it speaks a lot of this production chain, and we have to understand exactly what happens in this community, right? And then the development of this chain. And one of the things that called our attention immediately was, of course, the waste, right? Because this waste is disposed freely at the community, which generates, as Leandro mentioned earlier, a huge public health issue, because not only in terms of the city as well, because the city government has to collect this waste and probably dispose of it, right? So this was, we had that in mind. How can we actually work in this chain? And how can we treat this waste, right? Because this is definitely an social environmental issue of great importance. And this is how everything started. This is how the Maceió Inclusiva was born, with the IBD, and as well as with the city government of Maceió as a key player and key sponsor of this project. And in addition, of course, there's a huge institutional network, several other partners and sponsors who were parts of the initial scope of the project, and other people that joined our project as it was further developed and put in practice, and more challenges came along the way, right? So, but the project Maceió Mais Inclusivo is on very general grounds, had four basic phases that we saw as our challenge. The first one was to identify the potential use for this waste. What could we do with it, with the sururu husks, right? Then, after such identification, what products could be developed based on the potential uses. Another phase, which is also key, is how do we render these products and how do we include these products in the market and close the virtuous circle of the generation of work and income for the community. And finally, how do we structure the innovation for for the innovation ecosystem to ensure that the products do trigger benefits for the local community? So during the project, one of our first initiatives with the support of the University of São Paulo, we worked on research with the sururu husk, which is very rich in calcium carbonate and other elements such as silicon, aluminum, and iron and sodium. And thanks to the study performed by the University of São Paulo, we realized that sururu husk has several potential uses, including for civil construction. For example, you can apply it in different forms. For example, in construction blocks, floorings, finishings, bioconstruction, and mortar, for example. And when it comes to the steel industry, there are several products such as pelletization, desulfuring of things that we don't even pelletizing, refractories, things even that are so specific that we're not even aware what they are, but definitely we have so many different uses in the steel industry, and it can also be used for livestock as supplemental feed for birds, hogs, and cattle, because it's a great source of calcium. Also for agriculture, the mollusk husks serve to increase phosphates and organic mass available in the soil. You increase sodium chlorides, you improve nutrient cycle, you can recover contaminated soil. And actually, several of our partners have started experimenting on the use of the sururu powder in agriculture, and they've seen amazing and positive results in their production in this regard. It can also be used for paper and cellulose, plastics, ceramics, and several other uses that can be made out of the husk in natura without having been processed or treated into smaller granulometries. So, for example, you can use the husk itself, and there are several other possible uses. So there's a huge range of possibilities that have been mapped out in the beginning of the project for the use of the sururu husk. So all of these ideas have to turn into reality. And during the project, we started working on bringing the different people together, different partners together, for us to better understand how can we transform these ideas into reality. So we ran several webinars on circular economy for us to share experiences, learnings, and key takeaways and challenges of the project. We held workshops and courses with the community focused on professional training and also on understanding how can we work with generation of income with these communities, because of course there's a lot of social organization issues, and we definitely had to plant the seed from the beginning for us to be able to work with the community in a more structured fashion. We also organized during the project the Circular Economy Innovation Award, in which we found 7 new innovative ideas to use the sururu, in addition to those that had been originally mapped out by University of São Paulo in our research. We found people in the communities and local partners, entrepreneurs, designers, etc., who designed new alternatives for the use of the sururu husk, and also were awarded prizes within this context. And of course, here this deposit that you can see in the picture on the right, this warehouse, is the materialization of a very important process of transforming an idea into reality. So this warehouse that you can see here, this Interposto do Sururu, is of the Federal University of Alagoas, and it was assigned to IABS for us to be able to experiment with the different processes based on the sururu husk to see products that we could make with added value and which should also generate income and work opportunities for the community. So at this warehouse, we process the husk, which is duly treated and cleaned. And of course, these husks come to us through the collectors, right? So people at the community who are the shellfish collectors and who are also part of the sururu productive chain. they're part of this process. They bring the husks to us here at the warehouse. Actually, they sell the husks to us. We did a work to identify and map out these women, and we register these women on board with our, so that we could follow and have a very close and structured partnership with them, with these women, with these with the husk collectors. So I'm actually going to explain a little bit further about how we pay these women, but they sell the husks to us, then we process the husks and we crush and clean the husks so that the husks can be used as input to produce other products. And the image here shows the work that we have to separate the different possible granulometries of the husk. So it comes in natura, it comes in bulk, and then it goes from separation and into different granulometries to be used in different projects. So, for example, you can have the one for the brick, but there's also a different one that we sell for a paint industry, which is also part of our products, that they developed a texture using the sururu husk. You have the powder that can be used for the different uses that I mentioned earlier, for agriculture, livestock production, etc. And you have the in natura husk, and can be used for arts and crafts and other purposes. Our brick here, our husk is like the leading products here. It's our star product, right, of our project. And it was developed together with architect Marcelo Rosenbaum and a local craftsman and a person here of our community that had the people who didn't use the sururu husks, but they were became part of this process. And thanks to these craftsmen, we made this hollow brick, the kobogó, which has so high added value, and we use the sururu husk to produce it. So in this project, this Kabogó brick was actually exhibited in Miami. One of our companies in Brazil, Porto Belo, learned about this initiative and decided to take part of it. And now Porto Belo is a huge investing partner in our business. And they help us develop not only the product itself, so this Kabogó hollow brick, but also when we're working with it, we improve the product, obviously. And Porto Belo has been a huge player, a huge investor in this process for the development of this Kobogó piece, right? And they sell our hollow bricks at their stores. So that you know, the Kobogó was designed by architect and designer Marcelo Rosenbaum and Rodrigo Ambrosio and modeled by Itamácio, a local craftsman. It is produced in the community of Sururu and sold by company Porto Belo. And we have a social currency, which is one of the initiatives tied to this whole cosmos, to this micro ecosystem of social innovation. So when we sell the sururu husks, it is sold using this social currency. So during the project, we also supported the creation of community bank, the development of social currency, which is a sururote, designed together with the community to foster the local community and to trade in the husks at our partner establishments. So we don't pay the collectors in cash, but rather in the social currency, which can be used to purchase products at the community and at partner institutions and companies with our project and with our community bank. So we have Manda V, it is a local institution that was already operating in the region for a long time, and it's also a huge partner here with us. So they helped us set up not only the bank but also the social currency. And here is another one of our products with sururu, which we sell for Embratim. And they prepared this coating using the sururu husk, which is a texture for walls. And we're also working on other initiatives with a masunin husk, which is the wider one here, which is also a mollusk, a local mollusk that we have. We're also still in testing phase, but the sururu base texture is already ready and being sold. And a lot of people and the consumer market have been looking for the sururu texture. And our project, because it definitely has a beginning, a middle, and the end, And towards the end of our project, we found several challenges, including at the end of project, how would we be able to transition the project into a business to render it an entrepreneurism, right? A social business. So we had an amazing result and an innovative result with a huge potential in terms of institutional networking and articulation, but we didn't want things to stop there when we completed the project. So we were asking ourselves, how can we move forward with this, right? How can we continue with this process? So this was a huge challenge for us. In addition, all the structuring for this business to be able to continue irrespective of the projects, right? So we had, structuring this process was a huge learning for us. We also had the challenge of working with impact, right? So how do we increase impact on and for the community? During the project, we had like 20 or 40 shellfish collectors. And now the city government and the project ourselves and the community, we have to understand how can we increase the impact and benefit more people, right? So can we bring in more resources? So definitely understanding impact is a huge challenge for us. In addition, we have the relations and local expectations, including with respect to impact, right? And we cannot disregard the technical and financial feasibility of this business. So when the project was running, everything was fine, right? We had financial support, we had funding to operate everything and to experiment in these different areas. But when the project was over, we had a huge challenge of understanding whether it would be technically and financially feasible to move forward, right? And as a future project, our expectation was obviously to increase impact and results, increase the benefits for the community, for the business to be self-sustainable, and for it to offer visibility to other new initiatives as well. And we, as a project for the future, we want to make sure new projects and initiatives are born and to strengthen social innovation with a purpose. And this is exactly how our social business was born, which comes from an institution that continues with the purpose of working on the Sururu chain at the Virgel community to pay with the social currency, to produce products with added value and coming from the Sururu waste, and to allocate 100% of the profit to a social fund to support projects. I think we have a minor connection issue with Projeto Maceió Mais Inclusivo, and to continue this initiative, continue with this virtuous cycle of generating benefits for the community coming from the work and the use of Sururu waste production chain. However, this microcosmos that I shared with you today, which surrounds the Sururu warehouse, is also part of a huge context, of a huge ecosystem. This initiative that we first started at the Sururu warehouse triggered new perspectives and more broader perspectives and a more systemic vision on the community needs. So we have designed a strategy for a much bigger ecosystem, which is the Sururu do Mundaú project, which is part of and our program is part of this project, right? So this image shows the connection of all the parts and players of this ecosystem. So the circular economy warehouse is at the heart of all this, but the community of Virgel also works with the processing of meat, right, of coming from the sururu. So we can't look just at the waste, right, of the sururu husks, but rather sururu has become a huge vector for us to rethink how to promote integral, full around development of the community as a whole, looking at all parts of the chains and not only at waste itself. So this was the huge vector and still is a huge and important action of this ecosystem. And it has led the way for new perspectives of a more systemic vision on the Vergel community. So when we look at this image, you have the Vergel community that produces the raw material of sururu, and this where the husks come from, which is sent to the circular economy warehouse, and where we make all these different products using the sururu husk. But there's also the other side, which comes from the processing of the sururu meat. A lot of people make a living out of this sururu meat, and we have to look at that as well. And we have to understand how do we process and sell this meat, for it to arrive at the market at a higher level of quality, and associated as well, how can we strengthen the culture and value this traditional culture of sururu in the Vergel area with, for example, with setting up a museum of sururu, restaurants for tourists to visit and actually eat sururu at a very good level of quality, for us to have places for people to sell their crafts made from the sururu husk. So around the circular economy warehouse, we have this other bigger and broader ecosystem surrounding the sururu chain. And in that assessment that we did in the beginning of the project, we realized that one of the loopholes of the chain was the work in this chain, like the labor, which has to do with the extraction of the sururu, because this is a different and complex matter to work with the fishermen. And a lot of the things that are of the extraction is very different. So the labor practices also made us rethink what alternatives could we develop for the labor shift. So the production of sururu is definitely something that we have to, what we think about within the scope of the ecosystem and the project. How can we produce the sururu and extract the sururu on a more sustainable fashion? So sururu as an alternative for the traditional works. And we have this perspective understanding where is this resource going to once it's generated from the sale of these products. So we set up a social collective fund, and the profit of the social business and the work that is done within the sururu warehouse is allocated to this fund, in which several institutions, including the city government, including partner institutions of our project and the community, are part of this fund. And within the scope of this fund, the community decides what they're going to do with these resources, which can be to support new initiatives for projects of re-waste projects and other community projects that the locals believe are important as well. So this ecosystem is a big vision on the sururu production chain. It is something that is born from the initiative of Maceió Mais Inclusiva and the work that we do at the warehouse, and has a broader perspective on further developing a more complex solution. So it was developed with a lot of resilience and a lot of love, and we brought in this perspective to the social innovation ecosystem based on social circular economy. That's how we learned that including we're able to achieve more. So this is a very interesting arrangement of different players, and the partnerships play a key role for us to develop each one of these initiatives within the scope of the ecosystem. And that sustainability, its essence, is to consider the context of people who work and live in the area, right? So we have to understand that generating income at a given community depends upon group efforts, of the efforts of several people together, for us to be able to arrive at a new possible future. So this is what I wanted to share with you today, to strengthen our debate and discussion. Thank you so much, Ms. Roberta Rucheleni, head of the Northeast office of IABS, and the teams of Maceió, Recife, and Brasilia also have been sending amazing messages to all of you and reaching out to you. Thanks for your great explanation. And as the the team at the Embassy of Sweden, as they refer to it, as the Sururu Project, right? So we might as well refer to it as the Sururu Project as well. And moving forward with our webinar, and I mean, I'm learning so much from each one of our speakers, and I'm sure this is true for the audience as well. I have the great honor of bringing in our guest special speaker today, and I say our because she's been invited by the Embassy of Sweden, by IABS, by everyone who's welcoming her in the Northeast of Brazil. So she's been able to move around and get the feel of the amazing and the soil and weather and climate and environment of Northeast. So Miss Frida Anderson, she's the Swedish designer who's our guest speaker. Please, I would like to offer you the floor and for you to say a little bit and talk a little bit about your thoughts and whatever you would like to share with us on this webinar today. So rethinking waste using design. Please, the floor is yours. Welcome, Frida.
Thank you, and hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great listening to all of you. I was very happy when Leandro contacted me and told me everything about the Sururu project. I am from Sweden and I work for Ikea as a designer, and I also have my own company where I do all sorts of design or architectural projects. And within IKEA, I work with sustainability a lot. I'm involved in a lot of different projects where we help kids or teenagers or women that need to hide or have other problems. So when Leandro told me about this project, it really went straight to my heart. And immediately I said, this is something I want to be involved with. And also, Leandro, when you were talking about how Sweden work with waste, I felt very proud because I haven't really thought about it, because in Sweden, it's just something we do. We recycle on a daily basis, and it's not really a big deal. It's such a normal part of our life. And so we have like 8 different plastic bins.
Frida, your microphone is muted for some reason. We're not listening. We can't hear you.
No, it's not muted.
Yeah. Yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been falling out a few times from the meeting. So just so you know, if I disappear, I'll come back. So recycling is very normal for us in Sweden. And I will share my screen with you. Let's see. I think I can share. Okay, let's see if I can. All right. So I have 3 kids, 3 little girls. And this is my youngest. And this is her making Christmas decorations with toilet rolls. And using what is considered waste in other ways is something we learn very early in Sweden. We do it in daycare, and we do it in school. We do it at home. And here she's made a little Santa. And as you can see, she's very proud of it. And it's our finest piece of art. We bring it out every Christmas. So using what is considered waste in our daily lives it's very common. I don't think they can hear me.
I think they can hear you. Can you put the exhibition in, like, because it's showing just all the things. Oh, so like in the exhibition mode.
Stop sharing.
I think it's I think you selected the table. Like, go stop sharing and try share again.
All right, we will just try to sort this out.
Okay.
Bear with me. Technology is not my strongest. All right.
Now you do
There.
press this one. Yeah.
Share.
Mm-hmm. No, it's okay.
All right. So where was I? Yeah. Let's move. How do I? All right. So I've had the pleasure to come down here, and in Maceo, I got to visit the people that work with the Sururu shells, and also see how these women can bring the shells to the warehouse and how it's being transformed to this amazing hollow brick. And you've seen it in the previous presentations. And the thing is, as designers, we have such a big responsibility to create not only something that's beautiful, but something that is sustainable. So I was asked to create something else because we have this piece and the paint. And I was thinking, where do I start? How will I go about it? It's such a big brief. And I didn't really know how would I take these Sururu shells and create something new. You have the hollow brick. And these pictures here are showing when we were in Maceo and we were talking to the women, and I was letting them in on how did I come up with my ideas that I will present to you. And they get to try out the design process themselves. How to start, how to take this shell and imagine it to be something completely different. And I was so happy to see how everyone was so engaged, and they tried to come up with new ideas. What can we do with this Sururu shell? And now I will show you my ideas. Let's see. All right, so the brief: create a product or material with Sururu shells. Well, since I'm in the interior design field, I was thinking of, all right, so how can we use this? What can we do with it? We can make accessories, plates, bowls, vases. We can make lighting fixtures, lampshades, or even furniture, tables and chairs, or interior application like the paint that is already being made, the bricks, panels, tiles. There are so many ways to go about, and only our imagination will set the limits. So I was first thinking about bathroom basins and countertops, and they can be in the shape of the actual shell. So we draw the inspiration from the organic forms and we bring them into our house. Or then I was thinking, what is the most common thing in our homes? Pretty much everyone has a vase. And we can make them in the shape of this shell. But then I thought, it's too common. It won't strike as hard. So I don't like common. So what happens if we tilt it on the side, the vase? So we have this beautiful shell, and we display our flowers in a different way. So that was one idea. These are like the early sketches, so I hope you will understand. Or you can make lampshades. Awesome. And this is also a lighting fixture, which would be more artistic, more of a design kind of light, where I used, can you see my arrow? Yes, yeah, where I used these that connects all the shells to each other, like the glue, would be the base of the light, and then the actual shell, the shape of the shell would be like the shading. And you can have it as a table light or a floor light, or hang them from the ceiling. And this would be something very different. It would be like more of a piece of art for big hotels. They could be huge, or they can be small, or they can be used in the homes of bold people with bold interiors. It would be something completely different. Or we can make seatings, chairs, and use the fishnet that are also maybe not good enough anymore to fish with. So we take that as well, and we have the seating. Or tables made of concrete with the cerulary shells in it, just like the brick. And to make it functional, maybe it will have a lid at the top and we can put our stuff in here. So it would not just be a table, it would be storage as well. But then I thought, what am I, as a designer, working with interior design, what am I missing? And what is not on the market today that would make my life as a designer so much easier? And that is a curved brick. And I was actually thinking of it when I looked at the sand. When the water has gone over the sand, it leaves these ripples in the sand. So we don't have to draw inspiration just from the actual cerulary shell. We can actually draw inspiration from the environment around it. So I started drawing and came up with a very simple structure. It's just this one, like a S. And it worked well as well with the name Ripples, because this project will create ripples in people's lives, in the community. So I thought it kind of went hand in hand. And with the ripple brick, I will tell you a little bit more about it. If we have it the height of a seat, like a chair, it can be used in different pieces, just like the seating Leandro was showing at the central station in Sweden. You make one piece and you connect many of them. And if one gets broken, you can change it. And you can make kind of like you see in the top here, like a long seating. Or you can use it in architecture, on facades. You can use it vertically to create different shapes, or horizontally, or you can even use it flat on the ground in landscape design or walkways to create other shapes. Because our nature is organic and we all use the straight lines everywhere. And how about if we bring these organic shapes and we use it with our organic material? And you can put them together and maybe plant a tree. It's multifunctional, and that was something that was most important to me, to not just make a vase, but to make something we can use in several different ways. So here, if we lie it down, maybe in public areas outside, in parks, or if they are placed in a hotel gardens or your personal garden, and you put lots of pillows on it, you can lie on there and you can sunbathe or just hang out, or kids can play around it and jump up and down. It kind of becomes a functional piece of art. You can also use it in shops. You place several together and it becomes like a table to display your products. Or build it up a little bit higher, place a little something on top, and you have a countertop for your store. Or in offices, put them as dividing walls. Or even in the ceiling in clubs or any other place, to create a decorative feature and to change what is already there. So with the ripple brick, it can be applied to interiors vertically, horizontally, on the floor, in the ceiling. It can be applied to exteriors, facades, as benches, in landscape design. And as I said, all these different display functions as countertops, in bars. Only the imagination sets the limits. And we already have all the knowledge from the hollow brick, how to mix the cerulary shells with all the other products to make a strong and a sturdy brick. So this would be an easy way to create a new product with something we already have and something we already know. And it's nothing like it on the market. And I've seen during my time here, I met so many strong and powerful women. And I know the bridge from working with the cerulean shell the way we do today and to make all these products can seem like a very long bridge. But I think with the spirit I've seen with all of you, I think anything is possible. And I would be so happy to help in any way with coming up with ideas or taking your ideas and turning them into something that we could actually use. So yeah, that's what I had to share with you today. Thank you so much for listening.
Muitíssimo
Thank
obrigado.
you so much, Frida, for sharing your experience and knowledge, creativity. I mean, it's super inspiring. And everyone, we have to call in the council, Eric Xiao, to close our webinar today. But I would like to negotiate with you, with Eric, with Lisa, and Leandro, and Roberta, and Frida. We have 10 minutes. So please, if you have brief closing remarks, but very briefly, if necessary, to close our day today, that would be amazing. And it would be great to hear you. So can we negotiate? What do you think about that? Sorry, someone's microphone is on. So Leandro already is clapping his hands. So right. Lucas, can I take the floor then? Absolutely, go ahead. So then Leandro will take the floor. And after Leandro, please raise your hand. And then we'll use that. The last 10 minutes, we'll have each one speak until we offer the floor to our council. Please, Leandro, take the floor. So thank you so much, Lucas. I would just like to speak on behalf of the Embassy of Sweden in Brasilia, that we're all here today in this group, and Lisa, our secretary, and Frida Andersson coming from Sweden. Our idea is, in fact, to show this amazing, amazing project and product developed by IABS, which first started in the community of Vergel in Maceió, and it's such an amazing idea and has been so incredibly devised and designed, and it's so circular in its nature that the embassy is trying to understand how to replicate this elsewhere, how this project already exists in the city of Maceió, and what we have to do to seek support for this to happen outside of Brasilia, right? So the first city that we thought as a pilot city for us to start this project was the city of Recife. So I would really like to thank IASB, the Brazilian Institute for Development and Sustainability, in the person of Eric Sawyer, and all the support that you've offered to visit the different communities and the community of Vila de Deus, together with the support, the technological and human support from the Consulate of Sweden in Recife. So we're very, very happy with the results that we've seen today, and with the products that Frida has designed. They're so amazing and interesting. So I really hope that the Swedish contribution can truly be valuable, and that IABS is successful in replicating this project at other communities here in Brazil. And you can definitely count on us and count on our support in order to do so. And in the near future, we'll actually exhibit, we'll have the Rewaste exhibition. So all the pictures that I showed you this morning will be physically exhibited at this art exhibition here in the city of Recife. And we're actually going to organize this with the city government of Recife, sorry. So thank you so much. My heart is very warm for being here today in this webinar. Thank you so much, everyone. Eric Sawyer, please take the floor. Thank you so much, Lucas. I also, I really need to profit from the opportunity to thank you all for everything, as I had done earlier, but once again, to reinforce my thank you for all the support that you've offered. We are all walking hand in hand together in this process towards closing this arrangement, finding the last parts, missing parts that we still need to make this true into reality for this new project. And we definitely count on this ongoing partnership for us to be able to very shortly celebrate the results. Of course, we definitely have challenges ahead of us. And this is also true and key. We never tried to resolve all the problems, considering such a complex context in which these populations live. But what we are able to do to improve their lives, we will definitely make all the efforts possible in order to do so. And we're in this together. Thank you so much, everyone. Lisa or Roberto? Lisa, please go ahead. Thank you so much. And I would like to thank everyone here today for your cooperation and for this amazing webinar. It's really great. And I just wanted to say that it's impossible to compare a country to the other, right? They are very different in nature, and we can't come to Brazil and do the things exactly as we do in Sweden, right? So that's not going to happen, of course. But which is also true that you can't go to Sweden and say that everyone in Sweden has to start dancing samba. That's just not going to happen either. But I think that is very key and fundamental for us today is to cooperate, right? This is what really matters. The industry in Sweden, the academic environment and social society and politicians in Sweden, not everyone, but most of them really are making efforts to help and work on collaborative projects. So one thing is definitely clear for us in this sense, which for it to be, so I'm very happy to see this cooperation with the city government of Recife and with the civil society as well, and in the project in Maceió also, and with the social business of Sururu, the project, and in the production of casks. So I think that is also very important. And I would like to wish you all a lot of luck in your endeavors. And please, we're here to support you in any way that we can here at the embassy. Thank you so much. Roberta. And then move after Roberta to Frida, okay? So I can only thank all of you for the opportunity to talk about our social innovation ecosystem at the Mundão Lagoon. For us here at IABS, this is an action and an initiative that hits home, right? We can see the look, the shine in our eyes. We do this with a lot of love and with the strong belief that we are on the right track and the right pathway. Receiving this award is a huge acknowledgement of everything that we've done, and we believe that this initiative was hugely successful in Maceió and can definitely be replicated at other communities. We have visited the Ilha de Deus here in Recife, and we have already found very similar issues. Of course, each community has its own specificity to be taken into account, but we do believe that the learning and the key takeaways we have from our project in Maceió and now as a social business can definitely contribute to changing other realities in other communities as well. And it's a huge honor for us to partner with the Embassy of Sweden, a country which recycles 97% of its waste. I mean, it's a huge example for us, right? So it's a big, big honor to join you in these efforts in this pathway. Thank you so much. And as the regional head for the Northeast of IASB, I'm available to support you in any way possible. Thank you so much, Roberta. Frida, the floor is yours, please. With our very special guest speaker, Frida.
Yes. Well, just want to say a big thank you for bringing me to Brazil and for making me a small part of this amazing project that you have. I am super proud of it, and I'm talking about it all the time in Sweden. I'm trying to highlight it because I really wanted to do well with this. And yeah, so just a big thank you to everyone who's taken me around here during my days here and showing me around, taking me to dinner and showing me your culture. It's been absolutely amazing. So thank you.
Seja bem-vinda sempre.
Welcome always, Frida. You're always welcome here. And to close our webinar on the social circular economy, rethinking waste using design, I would like to now offer the floor for the closing remarks to Mr. Eric Xiao, Honorary Consul. Good morning, everyone. This webinar is the living proof that when people with good hearts and institutions with good purposes come together, irrespective of territorial geographical distance between them or difference in idioms or languages and difference of origins and so on, this does not prevent good ideas to sprout, for synergies to be created, and thereby positively transforming and impacting people's lives. So I'm twice as happy because I can be here today to be able to see this initiative happen that brings in, on the one hand, the Embassy of Sweden, Swedish Institute, IABS, and I would like to congratulate everyone, Eric Sawyer, Roberta, Diane, Lucas, everyone who's part of IABS for the award that she received last night. This is also another living example of good ideas can sprout all over the place. So when we have good people with a vision of progress and positiveness, and I'm happy to see that this positive initiative is being also stemmed into Recife, right? Or spread into Recife, starting with the Ilha de Deus community, which can definitely enjoy this experience and profit from this experience and this amazing initiative. I would also like to congratulate everyone, absolutely everyone, for the initiative and for including Recife as part of your endeavors. Thank you so much, Mr. Honorary Consul of Recife, Mr. Eric Xiao. It's a great honor to have you here with us today in our social circular economy webinar, Rethinking Waste Through Design, which was organized by Rewaste, Swedish Institute, and IABS, together with the Embassy of Sweden. So that being said, I would like to thank every one of you who joined us today and who are watching us this morning, everybody who joined, who worked to make this happen today, and for it to continue happening, not only in the webinars in terms of, but other different actions and projects for these communities as well, for the new economies. And all right, so we're closing our webinar for today. And that's it, everyone. Please follow us on social media, IABS TV. Share it as well. If you like this webinar, make sure you share it with your friends or work colleagues, with your network. And that's it. I would like to ask the participants to also wave goodbye so that we can see the mosaic screen, so that everyone in the gallery mode, so everybody in the audience can see you. So could you all wave goodbye? That would be great. Thank you so much, everyone.